16 strange things about the poorest and dirtiest country in the world, Bangladesh. A country that many may not know well, not only because of its complex political events, but also due to the strange aspects tied to daily life there. Recently, on August 5th, a massive riot broke out, forcing Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign and flee to India. The riots, arson, and looting turned the country into chaos. In fact, the US even issued a travel advisory due to the unstable security situation. It has earned the title of the dirtiest country in the world, with not only heavily polluted rivers but also unsanitary practices such as the notorious profession of cleaning sewers. The food there is often unsanitary, and there are strange customs such as polygamy and additional taxes for having multiple wives. So, what other strange things await you to discover in Bangladesh? Let's explore more in this video. Number 16, the 200-year-old flower street in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a country with unique social and cultural characteristics, and one long-standing issue that stands out is the flower business. In Tangail district, there's a famous brothel area known as Kandapara, which has been around for over 200 years. It's one of the oldest places in Bangladesh where the trade of flowers is not only recognized, but is an integral part of the social system. It's estimated that about 10,000 women and girls are involved in this industry in Bangladesh. However, most of them are not there voluntarily. Many are either forced or sold into brothels. This reflects a tragic reality. Nearly 20% of women in Bangladesh are married before the age of 15, with only a small percentage of them receiving a full education. Brothels in Bangladesh, including those that have existed for centuries, are still maintained and even managed by local authorities. The women and girls working there are not treated equally to other citizens. They are under constant surveillance and control by madams, have no freedom, and often work to pay off debts. While the law requires women to be at least 18 to engage in this profession, in reality, most of those involved are minors. Many young girls resort to taking drugs to appear older and healthier, while enduring significant physical and emotional trauma. The sad reality is that, despite living in such conditions, some girls choose to continue working in the industry because it provides them with a stable income and financial independence rather than opting for family life. Number 15. The unusual custom of shared marriages in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, there's a strange and rare tradition among the Mandi tribe, who primarily live in the mountainous areas near the Bangladesh-India border. In some families, marriage isn't just between two people. It can involve a mother and daughter, both marrying the same man. In these families, when a woman remarries, her daughter might also marry the same man, and they both live together in the same household. What's particularly unusual about this practice is that the man chosen is usually a young, unmarried man. After the marriage, the daughter continues to take on the role of wife, even after she reaches puberty. This tradition is often seen through a practical lens. The daughter is expected to bear children for the family, while the mother remains in charge of the household, protecting the family's assets and ensuring everything runs smoothly. However, as the daughter grows older, tensions often arise. The husband may start to favor the younger wife, neglecting the older one, which can lead to jealousy and conflict. Living in this kind of family situation often results in a complex and strained atmosphere where emotions run high. This practice still affects many young girls in the Mandi tribe. While some may not have a choice in the matter, others are fighting for their freedom and for the ability to control their own futures. Number 14. Death penalty for rape offenders in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has been struggling with a serious issue of gender-based violence where victims of rape face not only physical and emotional trauma, but also social stigma, which prevents many from reporting the crime. This lack of reporting allows perpetrators to continue their actions with little consequence. In the first half of 2019 alone, 496 children were reported as victims of sexual assault, according to the Shishu Adhikar Forum. But it's not just children. Women are frequently targeted as well. A report by the human rights group AO Salish Kendra in 2020 found that nearly 1,000 women were attacked in just the first 9 months of the year. Of these, 20% were victims of gang rape, and 43 women died from their injuries. Sadly, even safe spaces like schools are not immune. In 2019, a religious teacher was arrested for raping 2 female students and harassing others. Earlier, a high school teacher was accused of abusing up to 20 students. In response to public outrage, the Bangladeshi government has taken a strong stance. Since 2020, anyone convicted of rape faces either the death penalty or life imprisonment. The goal is to deter such crimes and to send a strong message that protecting women and children is a national priority. What do you think of this law? Let us know your thoughts. Number 13. Riots and unrest in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has been in turmoil since July, when protests, initially led by students, erupted in response to a policy favoring the hiring of former military personnel for public sector jobs. What started as a call for fair recruitment quickly escalated into a broader movement demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina after 15 years in power. The situation soon spiraled out of control, with violent riots resulting in over 400 deaths. The unrest has deep roots in long-standing economic and social problems. The COVID-19 pandemic severely impacted Bangladesh's economy, particularly the garment industry, which is responsible for over 80% of the country's export revenue, or about $55 billion annually. With many factories shutting down, millions of workers lost their jobs, pushing many families into poverty. But the unrest wasn't caused by economic struggles alone. A government policy prioritizing jobs for the children of war veterans sparked even more outrage. Over half of the public sector job vacancies were set aside for these groups, deepening societal divisions and fueling discontent. Many believe the policy was designed to strengthen the government's hold on power. The protests turned violent, with demonstrators attacking a television station, setting vehicles on fire, and blocking government offices. In particularly intense clashes, police had to use helicopters to rescue staff trapped at Canada University in Dhaka. The situation worsened when the government imposed an internet blackout during the riots. On August 5, Prime Minister Hasina fled to India to escape the violence, but the unrest continued after her resignation. Her home in Dhaka was looted, and looting and arson spread throughout the country. The military intervened, urging people to follow the law and announcing the formation of a temporary government to restore order. But the economic and social scars from this crisis will likely be felt for years to come. How do you view this crisis? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 12. Unrest in Bangladesh, travel warning issued. The situation in Bangladesh is rapidly deteriorating, with over 300 people killed in violent clashes during ongoing protests. An interim government led by 84-year-old Muhammad Yunus is working to restore order. Yunus has made it clear, however, that he is not seeking political power but instead serving as a senior advisor during this transitional period. He has pledged to collaborate with all parties to help rebuild the country. In response to the escalating violence, several countries including Canada, France, India, Japan, and the United States have advised their citizens to avoid traveling to Bangladesh unless absolutely necessary. The U.S. State Department has raised its travel warning to level 4, meaning do not travel. The U.S. Embassy in Bangladesh has also warned against visiting due to the ongoing instability, threats of crime and terrorism, and limited access to emergency services. The security concerns have even forced U.S. Embassy staff to follow strict movement restrictions. The U.S. State Department has also ordered non-essential personnel and their families to leave Bangladesh voluntarily. With rising tensions, inadequate infrastructure, and limited emergency response capabilities, now is not a safe time to visit Bangladesh. What is your opinion about the current situation in Bangladesh? Feel free to share your thoughts. Number 11. Prison break chaos in Bangladesh. Since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and left Bangladesh, the country has descended into further instability. At least 3 prison breaks have occurred, with nearly 1,000 prisoners escaping, adding even more pressure to a nation already dealing with political and social turmoil. The biggest incident took place on August 8 at Jipo prison, north of Dhaka. A group of prisoners suddenly attacked the guards with iron rods and homemade weapons before setting fire to the prison office. In the chaos, more than 600 prisoners managed to escape, leaving security forces scrambling to regain control. Just 2 days earlier, on August 6, another prison break occurred at Kashimpur, a facility housing some of Bangladesh's most dangerous criminals, including extremists and notorious murderers. The prisoners used homemade weapons to attack the guards and storm the main gate. In response, security forces opened fire, killing 6 prisoners, but over 200 still managed to escape. The unrest began on August 5, the same day Hasina announced her resignation. On that day, over 500 prisoners broke out of a prison in Sherpur district, marking the beginning of a wave of escapes. With the situation in Bangladesh growing increasingly tense, the risk of further instability continues to rise as security forces seem to be losing control. What do you think about these mass prison breaks? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Number 10. Child marriage in Bangladesh. A crisis in the making. According to a recent report by Human Rights Watch, Bangladesh has the fourth highest rate of child marriage in the world. The statistics are shocking. 29% of girls marry before the age of 15 and 65% are married before they turn 18. Child marriage is not just a social problem, it leads to serious consequences including health issues from early pregnancies, domestic violence, and long-term poverty. Girls from poor families are twice as likely to be forced into marriage compared to their wealthier peers. The main causes of this issue are poverty, cultural traditions, and the fear of sexual harassment. Many parents believe that marrying their daughters off young is the best way to protect them. They think it's safer to marry them off early, not realizing that it traps their daughters in unhappy and often abusive lives. Another factor is the deep-rooted gender bias that sees women as burdens. Women are viewed as less valuable because they are less likely to earn money compared to men. The bride's family is expected to pay a large dowry, which decreases the younger the bride is. If the family can't afford the dowry, young brides often face abuse and in some cases brutal violence. Even worse, disputes over dowries lead to thousands of acid attacks each year, causing both physical and emotional scars for the young victims. Child marriage is sometimes even supported by local authorities. Many families bribe officials to falsify birth certificates, making it easier to legally marry off underage girls. As a result, these girls are trapped in a cycle of forced marriage, losing the chance to grow and live as children. Child marriage is not just a harmful tradition, it's a tragedy for millions of girls in Bangladesh. What are your thoughts on this heartbreaking reality? Please share your thoughts below. Number 9. Want multiple wives? Pay a wife tax in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, although polygamy is legally permitted under Islamic law, men who want to take additional wives must pay a unique wife tax that was introduced in 2006. The fee increases with each additional wife. The tax for a second wife is $78, for a third wife, it's $234, and for a fourth wife, the cost is $312. This policy is supported by many women's rights groups because it helps reduce the number of polygamous marriages, especially in poorer rural areas where the tax becomes a financial burden. Bangladesh is a predominantly Muslim country, where Islamic law influences many aspects of life, including the practice of polygamy. However, in large cities, the monogamous family model is becoming more common, while polygamy remains more prevalent in rural areas. Interestingly, this issue isn't unique to Bangladesh. In other countries, polygamy remains a controversial practice. For example, in Senegal, President Abdoulaye Wade introduced a new constitution in 2012 to improve women's rights but still defended polygamy as an important cultural tradition. So, if you had the money, would you be willing to pay the wife tax to marry more than one woman in Bangladesh? Let us know your thoughts below. Number 8. The controversial virgin status on marriage registration forms in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, a South Asian country with a predominantly Muslim population, brides were once required to disclose their personal status on marriage registration forms by choosing from 3 options: Kumari, never married, widow, or divorced. This rule, which had been in place since 1961, faced strong criticism from human rights groups for being insulting and violating women's privacy. In 2014, after human rights organizations filed petitions for reform, the issue was brought to court. In 2019, the Bangladesh Supreme Court ruled to replace the term virgin with the phrase never married. This change was seen as a small but significant step toward protecting women's rights. However, the other options like widow and divorced remain unchanged. Human rights groups have also called for a similar revision for grooms, proposing 3 statuses for men: never married, widower, and divorced, to ensure fairness. Despite the change, this rule continues to spark heated debate. What is your point about this regulation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 7. One of the world's dirtiest and most dangerous jobs in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, working as a sewer cleaner is considered one of the dirtiest and most dangerous jobs in the world. Low-wage workers face harsh conditions and constant health risks from handling polluted sewage water. Dhaka, the capital, often floods because its old drainage system can't handle heavy rainfall. To clear the clogged drains, workers wade through filthy sewage without any protective gear. They use their hands to unblock drains, breathing in toxic air filled with waste, and sometimes swallowing sewage water as they work. Every year, many sewer workers in Dhaka die from diseases caused by the contamination, but the working conditions remain unchanged. The sight of these workers submerged in filthy water is common in the city, but for them, it's a job they can't escape. How do you feel about this line of work? Don't they deserve more attention and support? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Street food in Bangladesh is infamous for its terrible hygiene, and it's a huge concern for both locals and tourists. A 2017 study found that around 600,000 people in Dhaka eat street food daily, but unfortunately, most of it doesn't meet even the most basic hygiene standards. Prepared outdoors and polluted environments, street food often becomes a breeding ground for harmful bacteria like Shigella and cholera. Popular dishes like jami, chopped pati, and sliced fruits put people at risk of diseases like diarrhea, cholera, and typhoid. The water used to prepare food is another major issue. Street vendors often use unsafe water, and some even reuse it while serving, raising the chances of foodborne illness. A national hygiene survey revealed that only 63% of food service workers and 68% of cooks wash their hands with soap during work hours. Despite the risk, street food remains a popular choice because it's cheap and tasty. If you plan to try it, be careful and take steps to protect your health. Have you ever tried street food in Bangladesh? What was your experience like? Share your thoughts with us. Number 5. Poor living conditions. Bangladesh is frequently hit by severe natural disasters such as cyclones, floods, and riverbank erosion. These events not only destroy homes but also leave thousands of families displaced, forcing them to migrate to major cities like Dhaka in search of work. However, Dhaka, already overpopulated, is now struggling with even more pressure. Thousands of migrants are forced to live in slums where living conditions are nearly unbearable. Makeshift homes made from bamboo, plastic, and recycled materials lack clean water and basic sanitation. People live packed together in cramped, hot, dark spaces with little to no functioning drainage systems. Life here isn't just about lack of food and clothing. The slums are also hotspots for crime, drug abuse, and domestic violence. Children, instead of going to school, often have to work or are exploited under harsh conditions. Despite these hardships, there is a rise of hope. The Bangladeshi government, alongside NGOs, is working to improve the situation. Affordable housing projects, clean water supply, and vocational training programs are being implemented to offer a better future for millions of people. What do you think about life in these slums? Feel free to share your thoughts below. Number 4. The world's dirtiest country. According to the 2023 World Air Quality Index, Bangladesh ranks as the most polluted country in the world. The capital, Dhaka, is often shrouded in thick smog filled with fine dust and pollutants from various sources. This not only harms the environment but also causes serious health issues including heart diseases, respiratory problems, and even cancer, affecting public health. The main contributor to air pollution in Bangladesh is traffic. Old vehicles, especially motorcycles and diesel-powered buses, release vast amounts of toxic gases into the air every day. Additionally, industrial factories like brick kilns and power plants also add to the pollution. On top of that, farmers burning rice straw after harvest further worsen the air quality. Constant construction in major cities also raises the level of dust and fine particles in the air. While the Bangladeshi government has taken some steps to reduce pollution, such as enforcing emission standards and developing public transportation systems, the enforcement of these regulations is still weak. Without significant improvements in pollution control, Bangladesh's future will face many challenges. What are your thoughts about this pollution situation? Please share your thoughts with us. Number 3. Dead, polluted, and filthy rivers. Bangladesh's economy has been growing rapidly, thanks to the garment industry, which has made it one of the largest suppliers to the global fast fashion market. While this has boosted the economy, it has also led to severe environmental consequences, especially water pollution. Garment factories, tanneries, and chemical production facilities have turned many of Bangladesh's rivers into dead rivers. The Baganga River, a historic waterway that has existed for over 400 years in Dhaka, is no longer a source of clean water. It has become a massive sewer with thick black water emitting a foul stench, making it unbearable for people to live near it. Research reports show that the levels of chromium and cadmium in the Baganga River are 6 times higher than the maximum recommended by the World Health Organization. These substances, commonly used in the leather industry, are extremely harmful to human health. Chromium is a carcinogen, while cadmium can cause severe damage to the lungs, kidneys, and lead to premature birth. In the Shire Industrial Zone near Dhaka, hundreds of factories continue to dump untreated wastewater into the river. Research reports show that the levels of chromium and cadmium in the Baganga River are 6 times higher than the maximum recommended by the World Health Organization. These substances, commonly used in the leather industry, are extremely harmful to human health. Chromium is a carcinogen, while cadmium can cause severe damage to the lungs, kidneys, and lead to premature birth. In the Shire Industrial Zone near Dhaka, hundreds of factories continue to dump untreated wastewater into the river. Local residents have become so used to the smell of the river that they no longer react to it, as the factories easily evade environmental regulations. Water and environmental pollution in Bangladesh is a serious issue, threatening the health and livelihoods of the people. Share your thoughts on this situation with us. Number 2. The growing wealth gap. Bangladesh is currently listed as one of the world's poorest countries, with approximately 31.5% of the population, around 50.7 million people, living below the poverty line. That's more than the entire population of Australia. The widespread poverty in Bangladesh not only brings material hardships, but also severely impacts people's health, education, and opportunities for progress. The gap between the rich and the poor in Bangladesh is widening. According to a World Bank report in 2010, the poorest 20% of the population own just 8.9% of the country's wealth, while the wealthiest 20% controlled 41.5% of the nation's total assets. This inequality has mainly resulted from the economic growth in recent years, but the benefits have not been shared fairly. The rich continue to reap the rewards, while the poor are left behind. The poor in Bangladesh struggle to access basic services like education and healthcare, which limits their chances of improving their quality of life. Furthermore, the country's tax system is weak, allowing the wealthy to avoid taxes while the poor end up bearing a disproportionate tax burden. On top of that, Bangladesh frequently faces natural disasters such as cyclones and floods, which destroy homes and livelihoods, pushing many even further into poverty. To address these disparities, both the government and NGOs need to take stronger measures to distribute resources more fairly, improve education and healthcare for the poor, and implement effective tax reforms. This is a societal issue that requires a collective effort to build a more just and prosperous Bangladesh for everyone. Number 1. The chaotic traffic system. When you step into crowded cities like Dhaka, the first thing that overwhelms visitors is the bustling, chaotic traffic. The constant honking of horns, the shouts of street vendors, and vehicles jostling for space create a vibrant but stressful atmosphere. Traffic in Bangladesh, especially in Dhaka, is one of the biggest daily challenges for its people. The roads are always crowded and congested with rickshaws, bicycles, buses, cars, and taxis, all competing for space. The public transport system, consisting mostly of old, overcrowded buses, can barely meet the needs of millions of people. The rickshaws, a popular eco-friendly mode of transport, only worsen the traffic jams. The infrastructure also makes getting around difficult and dangerous. Many roads are full of potholes, flooded during the rainy season, and lack proper signage, especially in the more crowded areas. There are very few pedestrian-friendly features like overpasses or underpasses, making it a challenge not only for pedestrians but also for vehicles trying to navigate through busy intersections. Despite the traffic and infrastructure challenges, the people of Bangladesh continue to lead vibrant, energetic lives. Their resilience in adapting to difficult circumstances is truly admirable and serves as an inspiration to anyone visiting the country. However, improving the traffic system and infrastructure will be key for Bangladesh's growth and development in the future. We've just explored 15 interesting and thought-provoking facts about Bangladesh, a country of contrast between cultural beauty and harsh challenges. After learning about these, which one impressed you the most? Or perhaps you've had a special experience in Bangladesh that you'd like to share. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed the content, share to spread this fascinating knowledge with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exciting upcoming videos. See you in the next adventure.